Shalom and welcome to Yeshiva B'nai Noach. I'm Tom Averna. As we conclude our series on how I study Torah, remember that the goal is to read and study Torah. It doesn't matter how you do it, whatever works for you, that's the best way that you can do. So the goal here again is not to follow what I'm doing, just to maybe get some ideas. There are techniques, things that the rabbis would teach you, and frankly, I'm probably not doing most of those things. But again, don't take what I'm saying here as the only or even the best way to study. My way is based on the fact that I have a lot of time to devote to it, but there are simpler ways just as effective. If you can take anything from this, then please do that. That's, again, the goal. At the very least, in order to study Torah, the only thing you really need to do that is the Torah, either online or free. There are many places. We're going to go over a few of those places that you can go and find a Torah. You can also purchase a fairly inexpensive one, just Hebrew English, no commentary Torah online, Amazon, all kinds of places that you can go to find that. What I do ask, I've mentioned this before, whether you're a Jew or a Gentile studying Torah, for the sake of broadening your horizon, make sure that you do get a translation that is from a Hebrew source, a rabbinic source. Probably Jewish Publication Society has the most commonly and most widely used basic translation of Torah, and they're usually not that expensive. Now, the other thing that you might consider purchasing, again, if you're not doing it online, let's say, and you want some kind of notebook, some sort of place to write your thoughts down, your ideas and your notes. That really is crucial. It doesn't have to be elaborate. So I'm going to show you my system, which is a little more elaborate. It doesn't have to be that way. Just, again, a simple notebook. Or even, I used to do this all the time, take notes in the margins of your Torah or Tanakh. I don't do it quite as much anymore because most of what I do is on the computer nowadays, but some people might feel as though writing in the margins of your Bible and taking notes directly out of the text is somehow sacrilegious. It's not. It's a very good thing to do, and it's a very good way to take notes. So there's another option for you. But that I've seen many Bibles that have been marked up and well used and well loved. You may have too, and they've served their purpose exceedingly well. So again, nothing wrong with that. But it's nice in some ways to have that separate notebook, that separate journal that you keep. So it's another option, though. Not the road I'm going to take you down in terms of what I do, but it doesn't matter. I used to do that. It works well. It's just how you choose to do it. So I'm going to take you through a lot of websites as we talk about all of the things we're going to do here. And do know that I'll put the links to those websites in the description section. So be sure and check that out. And also, I want to make another comment while we're talking about the description section of YouTube. If you have your own ideas, please share them. Put them down. Make comments. It's a little disconcerting for me. I mean, it's wonderful to know that I have several viewers and several subscribers, but I very seldom get comments. And that, it's nice. It's not nice to get negative comments, but it's sometimes, it makes a person wonder without any comments if this is worth doing. Is anyone getting anything out of this that I have on my channel? So if you can, make a comment. I know, just a simple thanks or a simple, this is what I do. This is what I'd like you to do. Or again, just thanks. All of those comments are wonderful and welcome. All right, enough of my guilt trip. As simple or as elaborate as you want to make them, and they help not only me, by the way, but they'll help other people that are viewing this channel and coming in. And that's true of the Hebrew classes as well as any other classes on this channel, but especially perhaps on this video where we're talking about ways to study Torah. If you have any way that works, share it. Let other people see that it may be something they might not have thought of, but it will be wonderful for them to actually do and put this together in that way. So What I want to do is start, first of all, on Sefaria.org. We've been there before. Let's take another look. And I've taken you on this tour before, so we're not going to spend a lot of time in Sefaria itself, but to show you again how you would begin your study. And we're talking about doing an Aliyah a day. Again, this is an option that gives you, if you can block out 15 to 30 minutes, and generally speaking, you want it. It's best if you can do that first thing in the morning, because that way you're always a little fresher, perhaps, and life may not interfere quite as much if you're doing it first thing in the morning. So, but again, 15 to 30 minutes if you're doing an Aliyah a day. Another option is certainly to just do it once a week. I mean, it certainly can work that way, but it may take you a little longer and might not be as consistent in doing that. So again, your choice, however you want to do it. But this is where you want to start. So if you're using Sefaria, which I recommend, I'll show you some other sites where you can do exactly the same thing. But Sefaria here, as you probably noted, let me go back here. You can get to the weekly Torah portion. The week I'm recording this, the weekly Torah portion is Tetzaveh. Just click here. The Haftorah portion is here. So these are the two that you want to spend your time with if you're doing the Aliyah a day routine. So you would come here, click on the Torah portion. Now, a couple of things. Again, I showed you this in the first go-around with Sefaria, but kind of important because it doesn't always hold. I don't know why. It doesn't always hold the choices that you make here. So you want to do a couple of things, I think, at the beginning. You have a lot of extra marks here that you're probably not familiar with. They're important, but they're not necessary in your initial Torah study. So come up here to the A and click on it. And now you get these options. You can have just the source, which is just the Hebrew. You can have just the English translation, or you can have both, which is what I recommend. Now, the other thing you can change is the cantillation marks. I would take them off as you're beginning your studies. So it cleans this up just a little bit. If you take the vowels off, it cleans it up a lot more, but for most of us, that's not the way that we are able at this point to study the Hebrew Torah. The other thing that I think is kind of important, again, if you're doing the Aliyah a day, is to click on this button here, the Aliyot. Okay, and what that has done now, you can't really see it right now, but it's given you the 7 divisions of this Torah portion, and I'll show you that as we go through it. The other options are the layout. I like this one the best. Maybe you like a side-by-side layout better. So either one of those two would work. I prefer this one. So that's the first thing I would recommend that you do, is set up your work area in a way that's easy for you to work with. Okay. So now, as you're going through your Torah portion, again, we're not going to do a whole Torah session here, but I just want to show you how you might do that. So the first thing you would do, perhaps, is just simply read it through, and just scroll through, and just do your reading. Okay, all the way through until you get to the place where it says second. That's your second Aliyah. So again, if you're doing an Aliyah day, all you're doing is this portion right here. So you've read it through in English, let's say, and let's say you have a little more time, so come back up to the beginning of the portion, and then if you know Hebrew, look at it, see what you can translate. But even if you don't know Hebrew, and we've talked about this, just scan it. Scan across, scan across, scan across. Let your eyes follow the pointer. as you go across the Hebrew. Do that with every verse, and you can even go a little faster. But the important thing is that your eyes are focused on the Hebrew, and what I'm saying in terms of mystical Judaism, you're still absorbing subconsciously the energy of the letters and the words in the Hebrew, which is very important. So if you don't know Hebrew, but if you do know Hebrew, you might want to spend a little more time just here. We're not even dealing with commentaries yet. Just spend some time here. Viata, and you. Titzabe, you shall command. You know that this is in the future tense with the tav here again. These are things that you may or may not know from Hebrew, but you just notice some things. Because let's say this was in the future tense, but for some reason it's translated into the past tense here. Then you're going to ask yourself why, and you're going to get, perhaps travel down that road. Et b'nei, so the children of Israel, and have them bring you, or to you, shemen zait. So clear olive oil. But if you, so you want to, so which word, if you didn't know olive oil was going to be, which word olive oil was, and you wanted to see what word that is, then you can do this with Sefaria. Double click a couple of times sometimes, and come over here. Oops, well, it doesn't always pick up the word you're trying to click on. Let's go back to, we want to look at these two words here. So double click on that. Come on. There we go. So now, shemen means fat or oil. Okay. So that's the word. And what is this word? It's olive tree. So this is actually, so olives and oil is essentially, you've got the oil of the olive here. So again, you can go through this, spend as much time as you can. Don't overdo it. Give yourself that 15-minute or 30-minute time. Set a timer if you need to, so that you're spending a consistent amount of time in going through it. So that's as basic as you really need to do. Now, if you want to do more than that, then the next thing, so once you've at least read it through in English, and I would like to encourage you to scan the Hebrew if nothing else. So this won't take more than about 5-10 minutes to do that with both reading the English and scanning the Hebrew. So the next thing you might want to do is begin working with commentaries. So especially if you're reading it and you have a question, you shall command B'nai Israel and have them bring you clear olive oil made from olives that were crushed for lighting to keep the lamp burning constantly. So maybe you have a question about something in that verse. So if you click on it, it'll bring up this screen on the right. You want to go from there to commentary. And as I pointed out to you once before, everything that says EN, that means that commentary is in English. So I have recommended to you at a beginning place, just stick with Rashi and possibly Ibn Ezra. And Sefaria has conveniently put them right at the top of the list for that reason. They're the most widely used, especially for beginning students. So Rashi, if you only have time for one, go with Rashi to begin with. Clear, what does that mean? What does it mean to be clear olive oil? It means without lees or without stuff in it. And this was affected not by straining the oil, but we learn in Treatise Menachot 86a, he lets the olive ripen on the top of the olive tree. So essentially, I've heard interesting studies about this. again, you might want to pursue it, is that the best olives are the ones that have stayed on the tree the longest, and to some eyes might be considered not as fresh or as good, but they have the best olive oil in it. So those are going to be the best ones. So you can think, well, maybe there's a story around that. Maybe there's a drash, a teaching that you can learn or make up on your own, or find other commentaries that talk about that. And then he talks about what it means for the beaten olives, and then causing the lamp to burn constantly. What does that mean? Continually doing something every night. So again, that's bringing Rashi into it. If you have time, then you can bring Ibn Ezra and see if there's anything else here that Rashi doesn't talk about that you find interesting. So all of those things are a beginning place. So without going anywhere but Sefaria, you now have done your 15 to 30 minute study for that Aliyah. You'll do the same thing tomorrow and the same thing on et cetera, et cetera. Now, the thing to remember, and here's I don't want to say danger, but the challenge of doing everything online, as opposed to having your own chumash, your own commentaries, is that if you're going to try and keep the Sabbath, then you're not supposed to have electronics on during that time. So anything you've got on a computer is not going to be of much benefit to you for your study time on Shabbat. So that's the only thing to be noting of. If you are not Jewish and you don't keep the Sabbath in the same way, that's fine. Then again, everything you do can be on the computer and working with it that way. Okay, so that is one way to work with your study. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to now go. This was Sefaria, so I want to show you some other places that you can go to that will do a very similar kind of thing. One, we talked about this in the previous video. alhatorah.org is another option. If you come here, and again, you might just initially, before your study, spend some time on some of these sites. Again, I'll put the link up and just get familiar with them. But the only thing I want to do is show you, you're going to be studying the Tanakh, okay? And specifically, we're going to be looking at the Parshas. But the Mikraot Gedolot is the place that you want to start with, and we'll go there in just a minute, but let me show you some other things. So this is even better than Sefaria. I like that on alhatorah.org you can get a lot more information about the commentators. So this gives you a list of, in chronological order, of when they existed and when they lived, when they did their commentaries, of all of the major commentators. Okay, so this is kind of fun to do, or to look at if you have the time. So we have most of the commentaries we work with will start either medieval or later. So we look through the medieval list, and here we see Ibn Ezra. And so if you click on Ibn Ezra, it will give you information about him, where he's from, his education. Just very briefly, this is a great study outside of your Torah study time. A great place to come and just to have some fun. Look around, look at some of the commentators, and see if any of them, their lives or their ideas, jump out at you. So all that's on alhatorah.org. So there, and then to actually do the study that we just talked about, on here, it also will open up to the Parsha. And so you can you can get to it here. You can see it's not quite as easy to navigate, I don't think, but it is here. So again, this is alhatorah.org, and additionally, so you can get to. I don't know that this is separated by aliyahs. No, this is just by chapters, at least, and there may be a place on here. I haven't spent, to be honest, a lot of time on this site, but it's again just surveying it. It's a good place to go. And here's another kind of good feature about the site. So here you can get to your commentaries by the link, and you shall command. If you click on the number here, it'll take you down below, and it will give you a commentary. And you, the verse opens with explicit mention of the pronoun you, in addition to it being assumed by the second person form of the verb, serving to emphasize the word. Again, pure pressed olive oil. See Shadal, who asserts that the adjectives modify the word oil. So Ibn Ezra says that they modify the word olive so that the phrase would read oil of pure pressed olives. Again, all of these commentaries are all located down here, so you're not clicking over to the side and trying to find a particular one. But this gives you what alhatorah.org determines is the best commentary for that segment. You can't always pick here in terms of doing that. But again, just like Sefaria, you can take the verbs off and on. You can take the can't, the tropes off and on here. You can set up your the way that the structure works off and on here. You can go to the next chapter on this here, and so on. Okay, so that's alhatorah.org. So let's check another one out. Again, we're looking primarily at Torah resources. So the other one I want to take you to is Chabad.org. And Chabad.org is going to be a lot of information, a lot of great information. But you would access it initially by just coming to, if you ended up on the main page of Chabad, then you have a couple of options. You can go to the weekly Torah portion here. You can go to, I think it's Learning and Values, and you'll see current Parsha text. You have all of the things that you can, all the ways you can maneuver on Chabad.org. But you want to go to whatever Torah portion you're studying. Under here on Chabad, you have all kinds of things. Now, when I show you my journal, I'll show you that I use several things from Chabad.org. They're in a nutshell is a good place to just come and get an overview of the Parsha. If you want a summary of each Aliyah, which is 1/7 of each Parsha, you can get that here. You can also get the entire Torah, or the entire Parsha reading by coming here. I just clicked on Texts and Summaries, brought me to this page, Tetzavah Torah Reading, and you get the Torah reading here. Now be aware that on Chabad, just as on some of their Chumashim, Rashi is kind of built into the text. So anything that's bolded is Rashi's commentary, but the text itself is in the plain lettering. Okay, so just be aware of that. But otherwise, then you have, you can read through here. You have the Hebrew and the English You can actually show Rashi's commentary by clicking here, and that will give you all of Rashi right within the script itself, right within the Torah portion itself, or you can hide it. This gives you all of the 7 aliyahs here, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, okay? It gives you the extra portion and the Haftorah. We're going to talk about that later, but the Haftorah also would be here. So the Haftorah is 1 Samuel chapter 15. So again, depending on what day. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Again, if you're trying to keep Shabbat off of computers, then you might just decide to do Friday and Saturday together on Friday. If you're wanting to study that online, to do it is another option to get around. So there's your text-based learning for Chabad. One other site, I think. Let's go back here. So here's again another place, Mechon-Mamre, that you can go to, and that gives you just the again just the English and the Hebrew in translation, and you can find you can do a search here, because this doesn't take you necessarily to the Parsha, so you can do a search by the book, and then let's see, only in the Tanakh. Go to Exodus, and I guess that's looking for a word. Let's go back for a minute here. So we should be able to get to, let's try this menu, Bible Parsha. Here we go. All right, so now we're going to go. So we went to, let's say, again, we're in Tetzaveh. So you click here on Tetzaveh, and that'll take you to the Parsha. Okay, it actually sets it up by chapter here, but that shows you the beginning of the Parsha is at the end of the chapter. So then the next thing you want to do is to go to the next chapter and continue in Tetzaveh, and find your aliyahs, if you just know what the verses are. All right, so anyway, so that's Mechon-Mamre.org. Again, all of these I'll put in the description text channel. So those are really the 3 main ones: alhatorah.org, Chabad.org, and Mechon-Mamre. Now, Torah.org, I'll show you when we get to my journal. So I'm going to hold that for a minute. I'll show you all of these again, just in brief. But the other thing here that I want to show you, okay, if for some reason you have a difficult time focusing in reading, and you just want someone else to talk to you, and will help you do your study, this is another option. Again, Chabad.org, and if you go to actually, let's see if we can get to it a different way. So if you go here, you go to your weekly Torah portion, where I had you go before, and then go to videos. And then you can probably do a search somewhere on here for Rabbi Gordon. But I'll put his direct link on there. But you can scroll down through here. There's all kinds of, Moshe Nu is another one who I highly recommend if you want to listen. But he doesn't do the same thing that Gordon does. So I would scroll down to here. So here's Rabbi Gordon. and his reading. And what he does, first, second, third, he'll do the reading of each Aliyah on each Parsha. So you click on here, and so
good morning.
This
Welcome.
is 42 minutes long. They range from 30 to 45 minutes, thereabouts, depending on the length of the Parsha itself. So this is another way, and there's nothing wrong with it, because he covers the Parsha, he covers, and he gives you commentary, and the nice thing about Rabbi Gordon is a blessed memory. He's no longer with us, but he's taught millions of, literally, I'm sure, thousands, if not millions of people, the Torah portion, and he's beloved by many, many people. So I highly recommend this if you, as a beginning way to study the Torah. If you just want someone else to kind of really guide you through it, this is a great way to start. He's humorous, he's scholarly. It's an incredible teaching that you'll get from Rabbi Gordon. And so that's another option open to you to do. All right. So that's a look at just basic study of Torah. Now, I want to now take you to my journal. And this is a template that I made, and I'll have this probably up in the description section, or at least a link to it, to an attachment. But what I have done I started this about 3 years ago, is I decided I wanted a journal in depth to keep track of what I have studied and the commentaries that I've looked at. So I began, first of all, with this template for a journal. So I have the name of the book I'm in, the name of the Parsha. I give it in Hebrew here. And again, all this you can copy and paste. And the translation of that, and the section of the Torah that this Parsha is in. Usually, and I recommend this, you want to begin your Torah study with a blessing. So I put that up here to kind of remind me, blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with commandments and commanded us to study the words of Torah. One of the blessings that you'll say in your morning prayers as well. Okay, so that's how I started out. The next thing is I just put, and I've done this a slightly different way. When we get to my personal journal, I'll show you that. But I have got the breakdowns of each of the aliyahs to remind me of where I am in that particular segment. So how I got there, how I got this, is another site we haven't visited yet. So let's visit there. It's called hebcal.com, hebrewcalendar.com. And this site is also very interesting. It gives you all of the Parshas for all of the books. So you can click on whichever one you want. You can also download a calendar to your calendar, and it will keep track of the Parshas for you, or help you keep track of the Parshas. There are other downloads. You can also download a spreadsheet of for all of this year, 5786. It will show you all of the portions. I guess we can go there real quick. This will show you, well, okay, it's a download, so I can't, it doesn't open it up. But it will show you when each of the Parshas are read, each of the portions are read, what week of the year. So you can kind of keep track of that if you want to keep that going for you. All right. So again, though, for my own benefit, so let's go to Tetzaveh. So this tells me that the first aliyah is chapter 27, verses 20 through 28, and that there are, or 27:20 through 28:12, there are 14 verses, 14 pesukim in each chapter. You can also then go to that parsha and read it right from here. You can also listen to it from here if you want to. So all of this is on hebcal.com. Okay, but so that's what I pull from that. So the next thing then is I begin adding my summaries. So I can get this in a couple of places. I can get this on Chabad.org, but generally, for various reasons, it's a little shorter, a little more concise. I get mine from Torah.org, the Aliyah Summaries. So again, if I click on that, I can go to this week's Torah portion right up front. And then I have all of these choices. And again, you just look for different things here that you're trying to find. But you have stories, drashes at a beginning level. You have a Devar Torah by various rabbis, Rabbi Lamb here, and then. But you also then have the Parsha Summary, okay, by Rabbi Tendler. So if I go there, then here's where I get the summary of each Aliyah. And I'll show you this on the completed journal, but so I just copy and paste this in to each of my segments. Again, you can't do that if you're going to be selling your work. But again, for just your own personal study, then I don't see any problem with doing that. So there's that then as far as the Parsha Summary. Okay, so then the next summary that I have is from Chabad.org. They have something called In a Nutshell, which summarizes the entire Parsha, not just the Aliyahs, but the entire Parsha, and again, a short, concise way. So I'll go here, and I'll go to the Tetzaveh In a Nutshell. Again, they do have the Aliyah summaries here as well. And then I will copy and paste this brief summary into my journal for that Parsha. Once I've done the initial work here, I'm not doing this every time, so each year I just reuse the same summary. That's not going to change. So setting up your journal initially is what takes the most time. Again, you might not choose to do this, and that's fine, but I'm just showing you how I've decided to do it. Okay, so then the last thing here before we get to the actual Parsha itself is the introduction to that whole segment. And I really like what, again, Chabad.org does on that, and how they're set up in that as well. So I think that's here, and then I go to the overview, and then again, this is a little longer, but it gives me a complete overview of that particular Parsha. So, and I might copy and paste this, and then I might, go through it and shorten it and pick out some of the highlights, or I might just highlight the highlights in doing that. Again, I'll show you how all of this comes together in my journal. And then the last thing is each Aliyah and section itself. Now, these headlines you can make up yourself. I've pulled them from the JPS Torah. And I mentioned this one. You can get this. This is not free. It's $89 a year from Publishers Row. But this also has commentaries in it as well, so that might be something you do. But so I have all of these. Again, this is in my template, all of these, because this isn't going to change. This is what's going on in each of these section of verses, what's happening in each of these sections of verses. And then the last thing I have is the Haftorah, the portion of the Tanakh, of the prophets, of the Naviim. And I always try and include that as well. I don't always get time to study it, although I highly recommend that you do that. But at least it's there, so that as I'm in years to go, I may spend a little more time in the Haftorah. So the summary I do look at initially, and that is from, again, Torah.org. So we come here again. And we'll look for the Haftorah summary. Let's see if I can find it quickly here. Again, once this is done, you don't have to do it again. You just keep it with you. Well, I'm not finding it quickly, but it's on this page, and I'll get a link to you for that specific location. But I think it's also from who did I say that this was? Rabbi Tendler. So you're looking for, Rabbi Tendler, and I'll do a link. I'll get you a link to that on the description page. So that's it. That's once you get your template done, then from there you go to the actual journal itself. And again, I'm going to have one of these for every single parsha, for all 52 parshas. And then for all 7 aliyahs on each one. So for instance, this was last week's. Since this one's completed, I'll show you this one. So again, top is the book, the parsha, and then the verses, the blessing, okay, and then the Hibkal, the aliyahs, I'll show you. I've moved them somewhere else, and I'll show you that in a minute. But here's the Aliyah Summary. Okay, so 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And then the Parsha Summary from Chabad. And then the Parsha Intro, also from Chabad, is here. And then after that, we begin the first portion of the first Aliyah here. And so, and I've done, and if you want to know how, I'm not going to spend time in this video, but I'll be happy to show you. It's pretty simple to do. So I put in bookmarks and links. Makes it easy to maneuver. This is now up to 39 pages, and it'll get longer each year. So I like to have this so I can come back up here. So whatever aliyah I'm on, so if I'm studying, today is that I'm recording this, today is Tuesday, so this would be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So let's say I want to go to today's aliyah. It just brings me right down to the third portion. I know that it is chapter 25 through 26:14. There's 24 verses in that parsha. And then here is what I do. I'll put, as I'm going through a commentary and I find something I like, either from Sefaria or from somewhere else, Chabad, this one, I'll put in the verse, who the commentator is. In some cases, it's various or Hasidic masters, and where I got that commentary from, and then just a brief highlight of what is in here. So that I'll go through that all the way through each section. Might have notes that I've copied and pasted in terms of a diagram or a chart or a picture. And that's going to go through that entire Aliyah. And then each year, so Rashi I have here, I have mostly from Chabad, Sefaria Rashi, but each year I'll add some new commentaries to this so that it'll grow each year. And I try and find things that just stand out to me, just seem interesting. I don't copy all of the commentaries. I just choose something that really speaks to me. Now, the next year I look at it, I might say, why did I copy that? Why did that speak to me? It may not always speak to me, but it did that year. So again, it's a great way for me to keep track of it. This year I've been using the Art Scroll Chumash, so those are some of the new ones in here. So that it depends on how much interest I find in that particular Aliyah as to how long this is. Some of them might be shorter than others. So we're still into the third Aliyah. So now that's the end of that, and we start with the fourth portion. So now the next thing, so then I'm done with, I'll go back up to the top. I want to come back to the third Aliyah and show you something else. This I just started doing this year, and it's kind of fun, and I do recommend it. Again, you don't need to be this complicated with it. It's fun for me to do. I have the time. I'm retired, so I can. You may not have as much time, and that's all right. But one of the things I would recommend as you're going through the Parsha and just reading it, if you have a question that pops into your mind, write it down. Write it down again in your journal, whatever you're keeping, whatever notebook you have in front of you. Just write your question down and kind of note what verse it's in and what Aliyah it's in. So I started doing this, like I say, this way. So what do we learn from the tabernacle threads and fabrics? All right, so that was a question, and I did find here, so I linked it. So this takes me here. The 4 threads equals the 4 bases of relationships. This is from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So scarlet wool, turquoise wool, purple wool, linen, etc. So that is again something you might do, you might not do, but whether you do it this detailed or not, I would highly recommend that you do spend some time looking or asking yourself questions as you're reading through this. Okay, so again, I've done that with all of the 7 aliyahs here. So let's go to the end. So with the questions, the links to the questions, and then that takes me to the end of the aliyah. Now, the next thing that I do, even if I don't have time to study it, I don't do this with the rest of the Parsha, because I can easily find that on Sefaria and read it through. But I do actually copy the scripture itself because they're generally short. But I have the Haftorah on these pages when I'm reviewing, and I can read through them. But the main thing I'll do is, again, from Rabbi Tendler, is I'll copy his commentary, and he always explains, he generally explains why this, because every Haftorah is taken from, of course, the prophets primarily, but it links somehow to the Parsha. It links somehow to the Parsha. So he usually explains what that link is. You can read through it. Again, highlight things that really stand out to you, or things that you have questions about. You can put here in the comment section on that. So that's it. That's there's a lot here. And you can choose to do it. You can choose not to do it. It really is up to you as to how much you decide to do in terms of these parshas and what's going on. So I hope you've gotten something out of this. I hope there's something you can take away from this. Please don't think that you have to do as much as I do, especially if you have a life, as opposed to some of us who have a little less of a life. But if studying is important to you, then especially that journal idea in some form is really important to put together, not just because it's like a dream. I think I mentioned this in the last video. You have dreams and they're important to know, but if you don't write them down, you'll forget them. And then the significance of them will pass you by. If you don't write down at least the main thoughts and ideas that you have while reading the Parsha, and then next year when you're at that Parsha again, you can read it and remember where you were at that time. And you'll see one thing you'll hopefully see, you will see, I'm sure, if you've been doing this all year, how much you've progressed. What was a question for you a year ago seems obvious now. There's no need to question it. But then you'll come up with something else. You'll find something else that you'll question. So that's it. I hope you've gotten something out of this. I thank you very much for spending this time with me. I know it's been a bit long. As I've said before, I will put the chapter, the sections, the segments in, so you can kind of go back and forth, and you don't have to, watch it all the way through. If you want to just look at particular sections, they'll be there. Check out the description page. It will have the links. If you want to go to those links and check them out, that would be great. All right. That's all I've got for Yeshiva B'nai Noach. I'm Tom Averna. Shalom.